if you're a man who's ever given his all to a woman, your loyalty, your attention, your time, your heart, only to end up feeling confused, discarded, like all of it meant nothing. This video isn't just for you, it's about you. There's a reason you feel that quiet ache in your chest, a reason the nights feel longer, and the math never quite adds up. And here's the kicker. No one ever told you why. Not your father, not your friends, not even the woman who left. But you're about to hear it now, because this isn't about bitterness, this is about truth. And once you hear it, you won't be the same. Welcome to Living Stoic, the channel where grounded men reclaim their power, not through control, but through inner clarity. We don't chase approval, we embody purpose. This is living by inner law. Now, listen closely. You've been told that love is about effort. Give more. Show her you care. Prove you're different. But the truth? Women don't care about what you do for them. They care about how they feel around you. And that's where most men fall hard. They think loyalty will make her stay. They think effort will make her choose them. They think showing up will make her love them. But presence, polarity, mystery, emotional authority, that's what she responds to. And if you get that wrong, you'll keep giving more while she gives less. You'll keep trying harder while she pulls away. And you'll be left asking the same question in the dark. What did I do wrong? This video is about flipping the script, not just with her, but within yourself. Because once you understand what really pulls her in and what silently pushes her away, you stop being the fallback guy, the nice guy, the emotional doormat, and you start becoming the man she can't forget. We're going deep into the psychology most men are afraid to face, into the truths she'll never say out loud, and into the masculine frame that makes her lean in instead of run. If you're tired of living on the edge of her moods, tired of being the one who cares more, tries harder, loses sleep, then buckle up. Because once we start, you'll never go back to playing the same game again. And by the way, if you're ready to stop living on emotional autopilot and start leading your life with purpose, make sure you hit that subscribe button. This channel will challenge you, sharpen you, and call you back to your power. And if you want the kind of real, unfiltered insight YouTube tries to water down, join the membership. We go behind the curtain. No fluff, no filters, just truth most men will never hear. Let's begin with the first shift. She never chooses the man who chooses her. Let's drop the fairy tales. No woman wakes up thinking, I want the man who's already obsessed with me. On paper, that sounds romantic. In reality, it's invisible. She might appreciate it. She might keep you around, but she won't choose you. Not in the way that matters. Here's the truth most men never want to admit. When you put her on a pedestal, she looks down. You thought choosing her made her feel secure, valued, wanted, but what it actually did was rob you of your edge. It told her, you've already won. Now there's nothing left to chase. No contrast, no uncertainty, no spark. And without that emotional polarity, attraction dies. You want to know what she starts thinking the moment she realizes you've already decided she's the prize? Why was this so easy? What's wrong with him? Doesn't he have other options? That's where the respect begins to fade. Because in her world, desire flows where challenge lives. She doesn't want you to be cold. She doesn't want you to play games. But she also doesn't want to be chosen by a man who hasn't even made her hop and earn it. She wants to sense your attention is rare, that your time isn't free, that your standards are high, and maybe, just maybe, she's not meeting them yet. When you chase her too early, you give up the most magnetic force you have, your uncertainty. And in the hands of a man who is centered, grounded, and purpose-driven, that uncertainty is powerful. Because it tells her, I see you, but I'm still watching. I like you, but I don't need you. I'm not trying to be chosen, I'm here to evaluate. And that's when her psychology flips. She stops wondering, will he choose me? And starts wondering, am I good enough to win this man's full attention? That's when she leans in. That's when she obsesses. That's when you become the story she can't stop playing in her mind. You want to create that tension? Then learn this. Women fall for the man who makes them feel uncertain, but safe. It's not about being toxic. It's about calibration. The man who chooses too soon comes off needy. The man who chooses too late feels cold. But the man who watches, waits, holds his ground, that man earns both her desire and her respect. So what do you do instead? You let her show interest before you fully invest. You match her energy, not exceed it. You don't plan your future with someone who hasn't earned a seat in your present. Be kind, be clear, be strong, but don't choose too early. And whatever you do, don't offer your loyalty to someone who hasn't earned your peace. Because here's what she'll never say out loud. The man who chooses himself first is the one she can't stop thinking about. He's not begging for love. He's not chasing validation. He's building a life worth being part of. And if she wants to join, great. If not, he's still good. Drop this in the comments if that hit something deep. I choose myself first. Let her earn the right to be chosen. Because you are the prize too. 2. Her respect begins where your neediness ends. Let's get something crystal clear. You can't earn her respect through effort alone. Not by texting her every morning. Not by showing up every time she calls. Not by doing the right things and hoping she notices. Because the moment she senses that you need her more than you choose her, something far more important than attraction begins to fade. Her respect. Respect isn't a reward for your niceness. It's not given because you stayed up late worrying. It's not granted because you bent over backwards to be understood. Respect begins the moment she feels that your identity is solid without her. Let's go even deeper. Neediness isn't about how much you say, it's about what your energy says beneath the surface. It's when your actions whisper, "I need you to want me so I can finally feel enough." It's when your self-worth rises and falls based on her tone. It's when your day is ruined because she pulled back slightly. It's when you're not centered, so you orbit her emotions instead of your purpose. And once she picks up on that, game over. You might think you're being sweet, attentive, caring, but if it's coming from a place of emptiness, it doesn't feel like love. It feels like pressure, and pressure doesn't draw her closer. It pushes her away. She wants to feel the man who can ground her storm, who doesn't flinch when her mood changes, who doesn't panic when she gets quiet. She wants to feel the man who chooses his path, even when she's unsure of hers. Because when you're no longer chasing validation, something radical happens. You become a man whose attention feels earned, not freely given to anyone who smiles long enough. You become rare. You become magnetic. And that's when her energy starts to shift. You want to know when she really starts to notice you? It's not when you buy her gifts. It's not when you write long messages explaining your feelings. It's when your tone becomes calmer, your eyes become clearer, your presence becomes rooted. It's when you move from trying to impress to simply being immovable. Because here's the paradox: the less you need her to validate you, the more she wants to. She starts leaning in, she starts studying your silences, she starts offering more without you asking, because you're no longer the man chasing emotion, you're the man mastering it. So if you've ever been the one who bent over backward to be enough, lost sleep trying to decode a single word in her text, felt your gut tighten when she pulled away, and you did, more hoping it would work. You're not weak, you're not broken, but you've been living outside your frame. And this moment, right now, is your turning point. You don't become unforgettable by reacting to her every mood. You don't earn respect by apologizing for being too much or not enough. You become unforgettable by standing firm. When the storm rises, you don't flinch. And when she sees that, she stops testing and starts trusting. Drop this in the comments if you've ever had to reclaim your power. I lead, I don't chase. Let it echo, not just for her, but for you. Because that quiet decision, that shift in your spine, that's where your story begins again. 3. If you don't lead, she'll replace you. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If you don't lead the energy of your relationship, she will. And the moment she steps into that role, she starts looking around for someone else strong enough to take it back. And no, it doesn't matter how much you love her. It doesn't matter how supportive, how romantic, how loyal you are. Because if she feels like she's steering the emotional dynamic, something inside her starts to die. The spark dims. The passion turns into pressure. The respect begins to dissolve. And you? You get quietly filed under, "He's a nice guy, but I don't feel it anymore." Let's make one thing clear. Leadership isn't control. It's not domination. It's not barking orders. It's not telling her where to be or what to do. It's about direction, clarity, initiative. It's about being the man who knows where he's going. and is strong enough to take her with him, not dragging her, not pleading with her, but inspiring her to come along. Because despite what modern culture might shout, most women do not want to carry the emotional burden of a relationship. They might try, they might do it for a while out of love or necessity, but it exhausts them. And exhausted women don't stay in love. They retreat. So what does real leadership look like? It's when you make a plan without needing applause. It's when you hold space during conflict without emotional collapse. It's when your energy quietly says, "I've got this." Not because you said it loud, but because it's who you are. When she feels that, she relaxes, she softens, she opens. Not because she's weak, but because she finally feels safe. You want to see a woman's feminine essence come alive? Then lead with your masculine clarity. Because her softness isn't triggered by compliments, it's triggered by certainty. When you're clear, she doesn't need to overthink. When you're solid, she doesn't need to step in. When you move with purpose, she doesn't need to plan everything. And that's where her attraction lives. That's when she starts to feel herself around you again. Too many men confuse being agreeable with being a good partner. They avoid conflict, say yes to everything, wait for her to decide. But there's a difference between being flexible and being forgettable. If you're constantly checking in, constantly waiting for her approval, constantly molding yourself to her mood, you're not leading, you're reacting. And that energy? It dries up attraction faster than anything else. You want to flip that? Then decide, right now, to show up differently. Stop trying to be perfect. Start being present. Let your direction speak louder than your reassurance. Let your presence say, "This is where I'm going. Come with me or don't." And when you live like that, you won't have to ask for her respect. She'll feel it, and she'll follow by choice. Drop this in the comments if you're done being passive. I take the lead. Because leadership isn't about being in control. It's about being in command of your emotions, your purpose, and your path. And that's what she's been waiting for all along. This next truth might sting, but once you grasp it, you'll stop falling for illusions and start moving with clarity. 4. Her seduction is strategy, not surrender. Let's set the record straight. Just because she's being affectionate, just because she's giving you attention, sweetness, even physical intimacy, doesn't mean it's coming from desire. In fact, sometimes it has nothing to do with you at all. This is where most men get played without ever realizing it. They mistake performance for passion. You think, she's finally opening up, she's into me again, she's showing she wants me. But in reality, you're being pulled back in. Not with love, not with surrender, but with strategy. Because real surrender, real feminine intimacy is rare. It's slow, it's emotional, it's built on safety. But strategic seduction? That shows up when she feels like she's losing you. When you pull back, when you stand your ground, when she senses she's no longer in control of the emotional dynamic. That's when the text comes in. That's when the lingerie appears. That's when she gets soft again. Not to reconnect, but to regain power. Here's how you know the difference. If her warmth disappears the moment you lean back in, if her attention fades after you give her what she wanted, that wasn't intimacy. That was bait. It was a reset button, a power play, a tactic to see if she could still control the tempo of the relationship without ever saying it directly. You see, emotional manipulation doesn't always come dressed as drama. Sometimes it comes in the form of affection. Sometimes it comes with candlelight, whispering, "I miss you." And most men, starved for love, walk right back into the trap. So what's the move? Pause. Observe. Delay. Don't react. Don't rush. Let her energy play out over time. If it's real, it will remain. If it's strategy, it will vanish once it's served its purpose. This doesn't mean you become cold. It means you become clear. Clear on your value. Clear on your boundaries. Clear on the kind of woman who earns access to your heart and body. Because here's the truth. Real surrender doesn't come with seduction. It comes in silence, in consistency, in the softness that doesn't need to prove itself. If she's trying to seduce you into staying, it means she's threatened by your independence. If she's drawn to your presence without needing to perform, that's real. That's rare. And that's what you deserve. Drop this in the comments if you're done falling for fake intimacy. No more games. Because the moment you trade your power for the illusion of connection, you don't just lose the frame, you lose her respect. And once that's gone, There's no seduction in the world that can bring it back. 5. The less you react, the more she obsesses. In a world that moves at the speed of text messages, where every mood is broadcast and every silence is filled, your ability to stay still is power, especially when dealing with a woman who knows how to pull emotional strings, because she will test you. She'll send that cryptic message, drop a passive-aggressive comment, withdraw her affection just enough to make you guess. And most men, they bite. They explain, they chase, they overcommunicate, they fall out of their frame trying to fix what she hasn't even named. But not you. Not anymore. You see, when you stop reacting, something extraordinary happens. You disrupt the script. You break the pattern she's used to, and that creates a vacuum, a curiosity, because she's not getting the dopamine hit of emotional control. She's not feeling the surge of power she's used to when men scramble for her approval. Instead, she's met with calm, with clarity, with a man who doesn't need to explain himself. And that silence, it haunts her. Here's what happens next. She starts rereading the texts, replaying the conversation, filling in the blanks with imagination. And that imagination is more powerful than any reassurance you could have offered. Because you're no longer predictable. You're no longer accessible at the press of an emotional button. You've become the mystery again. This isn't about playing games. This is about emotional regulation. It's about holding your masculine frame even when she tries to shake it. Because when you stay grounded in the fire, when your tone stays calm, when your posture doesn't fold, when your voice comes from your center, you say everything without saying a word. And that presence, it cuts deeper than any argument ever could. She won't remember what you said in the heat of the moment. She'll remember how unbothered you were. That's what creates obsession. That's what flips attraction into desire. Not through force, but through emotional authority. So let's lock this in. Drop it in the comments right now. Still, focused, unshaken. That's your new baseline. Let her energy adapt to your gravity, not the other way around. Because when everything around you begs for a reaction, and you offer stillness instead, you become unforgettable. This is where emotional mastery separates the grounded from the needy. 6. She hides behind space when she's testing power. Let's not sugarcoat this. When a woman says, "I just need some space," it's not always about self-reflection, peace, or clarity. Sometimes yes, but often it's a test, a quiet, calculated test of your inner gravity. She's not walking away. She's watching. Watching how you respond. Watching if you spin out. Watching if you lose your composure, your value, your leadership the moment she steps back. And most men, they fail this test instantly. Here's what you need to understand. It's not the space that's the issue. It's why it's happening and when. Does she ask for space? Right after you stopped overgiving? Right after you pulled your attention back to yourself? Right after you said no and meant it? If so, that space isn't about her emotional well-being. It's about her seeing if your strength is real, or if it's just a mask that crumbles when she stops feeding you attention. And what do most men do? They panic. They send long paragraphs. They try to fix everything. They beg for clarity. They over-explain. They offer even more energy, thinking they'll prove how much they care. But the moment you do that, she wins the test. Not in a good way. You've shown her that you're not centered, that your self-worth still lives in her response, and that confirms exactly what she feared. You were only strong until she pulled away. But when you're grounded, you give her space without giving her power. You don't fill the silence with desperation. You don't explain your value. You don't try to make her stay. You let her feel the distance she created. And that's when she feels something unexpected. Not relief, not peace, but your absence. See, emotional space feels like control when she's calling the shots. But when you don't chase, when you don't spiral, when you simply nod inwardly and return to your mission, she starts questioning the move. She starts wondering, did I just walk away from a man who doesn't chase because he doesn't need to? Why isn't he checking in? Why do I miss him more than I expected? And in that silence, power shifts. Here's the truth. Women don't test your love. They test your frame. They want to know, can you hold your own center? Can you stay focused on your life? Can you resist the pull to validate every emotional wave? Because if you can, she sees you differently. You become unshakable. Drop this in the comments if you've ever stood still in the silence and claimed your strength. I stay in my power. Not to punish, not to manipulate, but because your energy is earned, never assumed. And if she wants access again, she comes back on your terms. To a man she didn't break, to a man who didn't fold. To a man she now respects more than ever. 7. Her intimacy is earned, not given. Let's get something straight. Just because you're in her life, just because you're doing all the right things, does not mean you're entitled to her intimacy. And I'm not just talking about physical closeness. I'm talking about her real self, her vulnerability, her emotional truth, the side of her that isn't curated or controlled. That part is earned. Most men think showing up is enough. They're consistent, they're kind, they listen, they support, but they forget. Women live in a world that constantly tells them to protect their softness. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every man who said I love you but disappeared the moment she let her guard down. Added layers. And those layers? You don't peel them back with charm. You don't break them with flowers or sweet words. You earn her real self through presence. Presence isn't being physically near her. It's being emotionally still when she tests. It's holding space when she's uncertain. It's not folding when she's messy, moody, or unsure. Because she's watching. She might not say it, she might not even realize she's doing it, but she's constantly scanning for one thing. Can this man hold my emotional truth without collapsing? If you crumble every time she withdraws, if you overreact when she gets distant, if you chase the moment she stops performing, she knows you were only grounded as long as she gave you validation, and that means she can't trust your presence. It was conditional, it was reactive, it wasn't earned. But when you stay steady, when you show up with emotional awareness and a spine, she relaxes. Not because you convinced her, but because she finally feels like she can be a woman, not a performer. Let me be real. Intimacy is not earned by begging for it. It's not a transaction for being good. It's a response to your energy. She opens when she feels safe. And safety is not comfort. It's your consistency, your calm, your emotional backbone. So if you're the kind of man who doesn't demand intimacy, but builds the space for it to arrive, drop this in the comments. I don't chase depth, I attract it. Because a man who understands this doesn't just touch her body, he reaches her soul. These are the truths that separate temporary attention from lasting respect. Let's go. 8. She wants to submit, but only to a man she respects. Now before you flinch at the word submit, let's clarify something. We're not talking about control. We're not talking about dominance. We're not talking about obedience. We're talking about trust. A woman's desire to lean back, to soften, to feel held, that only happens when she respects the man in front of her. And if she doesn't respect you, she might stay, she might smile, she might even go through the motions. But she'll never surrender her feminine essence to you. Not emotionally, not sexually, not spiritually. Most modern women are forced into masculine energy every day. They lead, they push, they perform, they carry. But at her core, she doesn't want to lead the relationship. She wants to relax into your presence, to exhale, to feel safe enough to stop performing. But she can't do that. If you're unsure, if you're indecisive, if you're passive, she'll step up, but she'll resent it, and eventually she'll drift away. Respect isn't about barking commands. It's not about raising your voice or demanding anything. It's about clarity. The quiet strength that says, I know who I am, I know what I allow, and I don't bend to be liked. That energy? That's rare. And when she feels it, she stops testing. She stops managing. She stops trying to steer, because finally someone else is holding the frame. But here's where most men mess up. They try to earn submission by pleasing her. They over-apologize. They ask permission to lead. They tiptoe around their truth. And what does that tell her? She has to be the man, not because she wants to, but because someone has to lead. And once she's in that role too long, attraction dies. You want to awaken her softness? Then own your direction. Lead with calm certainty, speak with purpose, live by your mission, not her mood. And when she sees that, she exhales. Not because you forced her to submit, but because she finally feels like she can trust your presence. And that trust, that's when the feminine opens. Drop this in the comments if this is you. I lead. She follows by choice. Because when you command respect by who you are, not what you say, she doesn't just stay. She brings you her full attention, her devotion, her soul. Not because you asked for it, because you earned it. 9. If you're easy to predict, you're easy to replace. This one might sting. You were told to be reliable, to be consistent, to be a good man, and you should be. But here's the shadow side of predictability. It kills desire. When she knows exactly how you'll respond, exactly when you'll text, exactly how you'll act when she pulls back, you become a script, a routine, a man she doesn't have to invest in emotionally anymore. At first, she'll say she loves your consistency. She'll say it's comforting, safe, but slowly, quietly, beneath the surface, she checks out. She starts scrolling. She starts replaying that conversation with the guy who didn't hand everything over right away. Not because he was mean, not because he ignored her, but because he had an edge. He had mystery. Here's what most men never hear. Women crave certainty in your direction, not in your behavior. If your values are stable, but your energy is too available, she loses interest. So how do you stay grounded without becoming boring? You live a life so full, so mission-driven, so rich with purpose, that she's not sure when you'll call, because you're building something. She doesn't know where the date is, because you're leading her into your world. One day, you surprise her. The next, you disappear to handle business. No explanation, no apology. You are the mystery. Let her earn access. Let her wonder. Not because you're playing games, because you're not chasing her emotions. You're building a life. And if she wants to be part of that, let her rise to your level. But if she figures you out too quickly, if you're too predictable, she stops chasing and starts replacing. Drop this in the comments if you're reclaiming your edge. I'm not easy to read and never easy to replace, because the man she can't figure out is the one she keeps coming back to. 10. Her love fades when you lose your frame. Let's bring it home. You can be successful, you can be attractive, you can be giving, generous, emotionally available, but the moment you lose your frame, she feels it. And she starts drifting, not loudly, not suddenly, but steadily. And you don't even see it coming. So what is frame? It's not about posture. It's not about being alpha. It's about emotional self-leadership. Frame is the energy that says, this is who I am, this is where I'm going, and nothing moves me off my path. Unless I choose to move, its internal posture, its spiritual spine, its masculine clarity. And when she tests it, because she will, she's not doing it to destroy you. She's doing it to feel you. When she's moody and you fold, she feels it. When she pulls away and you panic, she feels it. When you twist who you are to avoid discomfort, she feels it. And with every shift, every compromise, every okay that's really fear in disguise, her attraction fades, her respect crumbles. Her love dies a slow, silent death. Women don't fall out of love because of one big thing. They fall out of love in 1,000 tiny moments, each one proving you've left your center. And by the time you realize it, she's already gone. Not just physically, but emotionally. So how do you reclaim your frame? You stop adjusting for approval. You stop apologizing for your standards. You stop outsourcing your masculinity to her moods. And you step back into your path, your mission, your truth. Not with noise, but with gravity. And when she sees that, when she feels that, everything recalibrates. Drop this in the comments if you're done bending and ready to lead. I hold frame. Because a man who holds frame doesn't just survive the storms of love, he becomes the anchor in them. If you made it to the end, you're already different from most men. Most guys want comfort. You came here for clarity. Most guys chase approval. You're here to build a backbone. Most guys fold under pressure. You rise in it. Subscribe if you haven't already, because what's coming next will reshape how you think, lead, and love. And if you're ready to go even deeper into the real, raw, and unfiltered edge that YouTube tries to silence, join the member circle, where men become unshakable. And lastly, drop your final comment. 3 words: I hold frame. Let her feel it, let her earn it. And let the world know, you no longer chase women, you attract them by who you are.